All right, guys, it is noon, so let's go ahead and get started. I've hit record on this meeting, and we will be uploading this to the STLP website for future viewing. You can go back and watch anything you've missed. Today we're just going to talk about giving you 3 tips for your elevator pitch. And so let me go ahead and share my screen. You should be getting an email from Jeff Sobolski this afternoon about submitting part 2 of your STLP regional project. Thank you for filling out part 1. We had about 100 schools do that this year. That's awesome. So I really appreciate that. But you will get an email about part 2 that is due December 11th, which is next Friday, this afternoon. So I'm going to give you 3 tips to make your elevator pitch the best it can be. All right. And these are really simple things that you may have thought about already. And if you're a veteran of STLP, you probably already know. But if you're new to STLP, you might not know these things. And so the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is it begins with who. So you want your kids, remember you've got 2 minutes. You want to start by saying, if you've got 2 or 3 or 4 presenters, every kid needs to introduce themselves. Hi, I'm Jimmy. Hi, I'm Janie. Hi, I'm Max. You know, that kind of thing. We are from Lane Elementary from Louisville, Kentucky. Because the thing is these judges, they may be from Trimble County, or they may be from Warren County. There's no telling who the judge could be, and they may not know who Lane Elementary is or where Lane Elementary is. So it's important you say the name of your school and the city, Louisville, Kentucky. And you can also say you're from JCPS as well. They'll know that. But so start with who, okay? Always start by introducing yourselves. If you were live and in person, we used to tell kids to shake hands with the judges. And if we were live and in person this year, I would definitely not recommend that. But you kind of do that with this introduction here. You tell your name, your school, and your city. All right, or district. So that's number 1. Okay, number 2, if you have more than 1 speaker, okay? So if you've got 2, ideally 2 to 4 is optimal. Okay, this year, because we're virtual, you can have as many as you'd like. In past years, when we were live in person, 4 was the limit. You can only have 4 speakers at your table, but you can have as many as you like. But I would say that 2 to 4 speakers is optimal with this elevator pitch. Okay, you got to think you've got 2 minutes to deliver this pitch. So if you've got like 10 speakers and it's just constantly jumping around from screen to screen on this meet, that's going to give the person who's watching it a little bit of vertigo, right? So 2 to 4 speakers is optimal. Have the kids able to talk about each kid able to talk about a specific aspect of the project or whatever. But if you've only got 1 speaker, those presentations rarely do well, because what that looks like is you've got 1 kid who's doing all the work, right? And so we generally discourage 1 speaker presentations. Okay. But if 1 speaker is all you got, then 1 speaker is all you got. But 2 to 4 is optimal. Okay. And number 3, you can't do it all. When you look at that rubric, that template that we went over with Kathleen 2 weeks ago, and then you probably saw the episode a few weeks ago when I was going through the rubric and I was addressing every single part of that rubric. If you were to sit down and look at that rubric and try to go through every single aspect and be explicit, like this is how we're meeting this part, this is how we're meeting this part, this is how we're meeting this part, you'd likely go over 2 minutes. You'd probably be 4 to 5 minutes long, honestly. So instead, focus on the what, why, and how after the who. So who, what, why, how. And then you can throw the win in there as well, because obviously the win is by the state championship, right? In April. But focus on that what, why, and how, and then you're likely going to hit those aspects of the rubric without having to go through it point by point. All right. So focus on what, why, and how, and then the win is just a sentence by the state championship, right? So those are my 3 tips about making your elevator pitch the best it can be. 1, start with who. Kids introduce themselves and their school in the city or district. 2, have more than 1 speaker. And 3, don't try to explicitly hit every point on that rubric. All right. And so that is my, again, very short lunch and learn today, but that's the nature of these, is just going to quick check in. And then if you have questions, you come to me with those questions right now, and you're free to ask those. Again, if you join late, you should be getting an email from Jeff Sobolski this afternoon about what it takes to submit part 2 of your regional project. All right. Any questions?
We recorded our Google Meet with going over the plan, and we did try to address like pretty much every aspect of the rubric, and it went to 3 minutes. But I'm going to submit it anyway and hope they don't disqualify us for it. But so I don't know how strict they are on that. But
I'm gonna be honest, they're pretty strict with you, honestly. So like, because if we were live in person, they basically start timing you. Judges start timing you, and when your time's up, your time's up. So I would see if you can get down to 2 minutes. Again, you don't have to be really detailed in this. You just come up with of what we're gonna do, why we're doing it, and how we're gonna do it.
Russ, could she get away with maybe editing that and like Screencastify or something, pulling out some parts?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could get it down to 2 minutes. If you can't have, if having your kids meet again is not an option, then yeah, I would cut it down. I would find a way to cut it down. I know I didn't still 3:30. That's an issue. It's hard. It really is hard to get it down to that 2 minute mark. But you have to remember, that's an easy thing for the judges to look at and go, this person has a 3 minute and 30 pitch. They're not going to state,
I guess my question is, though, if we don't address everything in the rubric, how are they going to judge us on everything in the rubric?
Because what they'll do is they'll just go, they'll look at it and go, did they talk about this? Did they, without you specifically saying, let me find the rubric real quick.
Because there's like 7 questions, I think, on the rubric. So we had 7 slides, and we tried so hard.
I know. Let's find that rubric.
When we submit, are we only submitting a video, or can we submit a site that has the video on the main page and then on the second page has the slides?
You can't. Yeah, you can submit. I would think you could submit the video and like a Padlet or like a Google slideshow as well. Yeah. Yes, okay. Absolutely.
Because then I feel like I could cut it down and still feel comfortable with it, because the slides would be an option if they did have any questions. They could go look at them.
That's a good point. Yeah, if you included the slideshow as well. And so let me find that rubric. Where's this rubric? STLP projects. There it is.
Hey, Russ, while you're looking for that, can you remind us, I know we put on there like we would be a judge that day. When will we be notified to find out what time and how long and how many groups we're judging on that particular day?
It probably will be, I'm thinking that week after December 11th. The goal is, I would think, on that Monday, because it's going to be a really quick turnaround for this whole thing. So I would say that week after December 11th. Let me state semifinal. Okay. All right. Am I sharing my screen? Yes, it is. Okay, good. So on this, how did the team use digital communication tools to make others aware of included their project? So when you just talk about what you're doing, like we're going to use Twitter and to pump up our Minecraft virtual playground. That could even hit creative communication, innovative design. It could create. You could talk. I mean, it could even go. You could go even into project and back. Like even just saying stuff. Judges will be able to pick out. If you don't say specifically, we are global collaborators because we are doing this, or the digital communication tools we will be using are. You can do that. I mean, you could absolutely do that, but it's going to be hard. You're going to be hard pressed to get it under 2 minutes. Is the only thing.
Heather, we did that. We made a really beefy presentation going through all 7 slides, and it made over 3.5 minutes. And then we went back and we just tweaked every one of those slides, and we did probably 6 or 7 recordings, and we kept going. And by the end of the 2 hours, the kids were like, "Are we done yet?" And I said, "Well," and so we got it right under 2 minutes. And I'm like, it's fine. It's not going to be the best. I mean, it's the bits and pieces of it. And I think that's what's going to show is growth over time. Eventually, if you make it to the next level, which is what they keep saying we're supposed to do, is show that growth over time. And it's not supposed to be polished yet. So
exactly.
I think you're fine.
And the thing is what they're really looking for is what you're doing and why you're doing it. Okay. If you're just saying we're doing Minecraft, well, why? What's the point of it? So that's really what you're being judged on. What and why.
Well, I think that our students did such an awesome job trying to hit every part of the rubric, but it sounds like they're going to get judged for going over a minute on their plan for trying to hit everything that the judges ask for, which is okay with me. I try to be accommodating with my students given the situation that we're in.
Yeah. Understood.
So I had a question, just for clarification. So the video can be accompanied by a slideshow, because I was under the impression that the whole presentation was going to be based on the 2-minute video and they weren't going to look at anything else.
So that's what Jeff will be very clear about when he sends you that email today. When he sends you the email today and this afternoon, it'll be very clear about what you can and cannot include on that in your pitch. Now, what you could do is if you're in a Google Meet and your kids are talking about their project, they're sharing their screen, right? And you've got that slideshow up, so you've got a slide on there that says digital communication tools, Twitter, Google Classroom. What's the other thing? It's the problem we address. It's we can't gather on actual playgrounds. And so you just have a slide where you've just got the answers to all these. Okay. Where kids are just talking, right? So it's there visually. They may not say it all in the 2 minutes, but it's there visually, right? Is everyone clear on that? Where you can have when you're talking over a slide, you don't actually have to say the stuff that's on the slide, but maybe if you're really a stickler about that rubric, you could be here's our slide that addresses all that as we're talking about the what, why, and how.
I'm thinking maybe you could just adjust your slideshow to 3 slides: what, why, and how, and just make sure you try to put all those points on there. It kind of sounds like would be maybe a better option, because I did the same 7 slides with the questions and all that stuff, but definitely can't do it in 2 minutes. So
well,
I guess I just don't understand if we're going to do those 3 points rather than the 7. Won't those people just doing the 3 points get docked for not following the judge's rubric?
So the thing is they're looking explicit. So with 2 minutes, they're not, you just don't have time to go through every single one of those questions. It's definitely going to be it's definitely a challenge. And I feel like now, Ryan, can you answer this? I feel like in the past you had 3 to 5 minutes, right? In person.
Yes.
I think this year, though, they're really trying to be, because of the situation and because being virtual, they're trying to keep everything just bang, bang, bang. And when we get to the state level, you probably will have 5 minutes.
Yeah. And we don't know how many, we have to judge. We don't know how many we have to judge. Each person who judges probably has to judge 5 different ones. And so if you're judging 5 different ones, I don't know. I mean, he put that rubric in there, that 2 minutes in there for a reason. And whenever I'm in video competitions and stuff, you're automatically disqualified if you go over the 2 minutes. Now, Jeff's not going to do that, but I mean, I think you do need to, and it's not fair to everybody who does stay within the 2 minutes for you to really explain yours well in 4 minutes, and then somebody else, well, we didn't have the time. So you just got to stay underneath that 2 minutes.
And so I see in this document that you've got up, Russ, the level one project resources. I was looking at the pitch. So it's in the top right-hand corner in orange. It says choose how you give your pitch, short video, slides, a doc, etc. Use whatever fits. So I know you had been encouraging us to consider the video format, but it does say that. I'm sure Jeff will outline more specifics. This is new to everybody. But I also see that it says what is an elevator pitch? And it specifically says in bullet 3 that the pitch should address the guiding questions in the update level 1 rubric. So it doesn't say it should address the entire rubric. It just says it should address the guiding questions, which I think is what you're asking with the what, how, who, all that. So,
Right.
yeah, so I think your guidance is spot on, and I wouldn't worry too much, guys, about they're going to be flexible, not as much on the time. I think you might get a ding, but the rest of the stuff, this is just like a baby step, sort of, right? Like kind of getting the door to the next level, and then we'll get to get detailed, really get nitty gritty with that.
Exactly.
I've got another question. I have uploaded my Google Meet recording to YouTube, and would it be best to embed that YouTube link in a Google slide and submit it that way? I'm just because it's a video for kids, I wasn't allowed to add the end card to the YouTube upload.
So I mean, if you want to do it that way, that's fine. I think he's going to be very flexible with how they open these. Just remember that now you created the slideshow as a teacher, right? On your JCPS teacher account. Yeah. So if it's a Google slideshow or a Google created doc or whatever, or site, remember that you have to create it because anything your students create, judges won't be able to see. But you don't even have to take the step of uploading to YouTube. I wouldn't think. You could just share the video, the link from your Google Meet when you record it with the judges. Just make sure it's publicly viewable.
Yeah, I think that I'll probably even have somebody help test mine for me before I submit, just to be sure. Because even when I think sometimes I've done that, never fails. Somebody's asking for access. So
Yep. Any other questions on that? All right. So remember, you're getting an email from Jeff this afternoon. That's going to make everything crystal clear about part 2. And then it's going to be due next Friday. Don't overthink it. I know it's tough. And I know with that rubric being like it is, you want to hit every part of it, but just focus more on the what, why, and how, and kind of dance around those things without being explicit, and you'll be fine. But yeah, 2 minutes is the limit, guys. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you. Anybody else? I feel like somebody unmiked real quick.
Russ, can I ask you something real quick? And I'm sorry if this is a stupid question. When you said things have to be created by the kids, does the slideshow, does one of my kids have to be the owner of the slideshow, or is it okay if I'm the owner and I just share it out?
No, you need to be the owner, Martha, because your kids will not be able to see, or the judges will not be able to see anything your kids have created, because it's a walled garden. So that everything a student creates, nobody outside of JCPS can see. So you create it.
Okay, thank you.
And give them edit right. Like, so if you had a slideshow or whatever, you could give them edit rights to it. But you have to be the owner.
Perfect.